good here. Oh, even look at you, like Mr. Oh fuck, I knocked it over. Mr. Like product placement, brand awareness, Mr. Satterley. Apparently,
I like that you're continuing to fuck with it.
I know, I'm like fucking it up even more.
I fixed it, and you're just fucking with it. This is like a metaphor for a relationship.
God damn it!
We're singing Happy in my old Kentucky home. Kentucky.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Kentucky Commons Radio Hour. Tonight, I am joined by John Renane.
Hello.
And Martin Svab of Pivot Brewing Company.
Hello.
You'll notice Michael's not here tonight. That's because he is on his way to Tallahassee. So, Michael, safe travels, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, I think he's halfway to Gatlinburg or something right now, he said.
Yeah, he'll be back in a little while. I missed an episode. He missed an episode. So
you know who's never missed an episode?
Oh,
this guy. This guy.
Iron Man.
Well, thank you so much, Martin, for coming on.
Thank you.
We love guests, but we got to get you closer to the mic so they can hear you. If you do enjoy the podcast, feel free to give us a like, review, anything on YouTube now. Put up a bunch of shorts the other day. So lots of content throughout the year that we're not having a good platform to publish that. Just kind of quick, digestible content that you can peruse about all things going on in Louisville beer and our travels. But Martin, thank you for coming on. We have your title here as the Director of Sales and Marketing / Intergalactic Commander.
For Pivot Brewing.
Of Pivot Brewing.
Based out of Lexington, new to Louisville.
That is correct.
Yeah. And let's get you as close to this thing as we can. Your seat is adjustable too if you want to slide up or down or in or out.
Yes.
The more you, as we have discovered, the more you eat the mic, the more you kind of get that NPR kind of vibe voice going on.
Hello.
See, and this is where the Intergalactic Commander part comes in.
Yeah, that was kind of Intergalactic Commander.
The revolution is here.
Board the escape pods or like whatever. We all your base belong to us, as the old meme like says.
Yeah, Pivot Brewing and Cidery based out of Lexington, or just Pivot Brewing, not Cidery, but you do beer and cider. So
you pivot.
I'm gonna roll with cider as well. We're gonna start the show like we do every show with a beer that came out of my cellar.
This one looks sexy, man.
Nice.
I'm assuming it's a sour beer because of how much you're shaking the bottle before you open it, as that's a Satterley staple. Get all the dregs pulled right up off the bottom. And you're using a LAT branded, literally branded bottle opener. That's one of the rewards that you can get if you complete the Louisville Ale Trail. We make these out of barrel staves from Drunkwood, hand branded, hand planed, hand sanded, hand stained. And David, just do use it to open. What are we drinking?
This is a beer from Side Project called Punchdown. And
nice.
Again, if you want to see the face I just gave John, watch our YouTube. But,
lots of good faces.
Again, Side Project, Punchdown. This is a couple years old. This is blend number 1. This is a Missouri Wild Ale aged in wine barrels with California Pinot Noir grapes. So a little bit of sour character. I've had this before. I haven't had it recently, but it's punchy and it's wild. And I think for a brewery that does beer and cider, we got to get a little weird. So
yeah, hell yeah.
That's how we're starting.
Well, as we sip on these, do you want to give us a little bit of your background? A good place to start. You've done a lot of work in the beer and festival and like event and marketing. You've done a little bit of everything, I would say, as a galactic super commander, like /
yes,
like jack of all trades in space. I'm trying to think of a good joke there, but I can't get to one. But
still master of none.
yeah, master of none. Exactly. Was there a kind of was there an impetus where you kind of started to do independent stuff rather than become a normal like earthling? Like, you know, we're kind of all like that too. We just all kind of do random shit. But when did that kind of start for you, or how did you get into this whole thing?
Well, I landed on planet Earth in October of '76, and actually in the Czech Republic. And I migrated to the
76.
Czechoslovakia
Yeah,
at the time.
Right. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Came to the United States in '83. Grew up in actually the San Francisco Bay Area for a long time. Moved to Los Angeles in '98, where I spent first part of my career in the film industry.
Okay.
The beer bug bit me a long time ago, but it resurfaced at some point in 2005. And ever since then, I just jumped into craft beer. It was for as big as California is, there were no breweries out there. It's a damn big state. And that was kind of my journey into craft beer. But yeah, there's certain points in my career where I'm like, I brought a couple things to share that kind of jump started that journey. And then we ended up here about a year ago.
Okay. And so you kind of said that you migrated to the United States when you were about how old?
I was 6 years old.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What was that like? Do you remember?
I do actually remember. We came growing up in the Czech Republic, or Czechoslovakia at the time. Then actually spent some time in Yugoslavia, which doesn't exist, and then lived in Austria for a short time, and then came here. I was young. I'm an only child, so a lot of the memories are kind of seared in my mind because it was me. I write, I draw. So it was me and my sketchbook or notepad, keeping me entertained. And just, G.I. Joe's, Transformers at the time.
Yeah.
And being Czech, which you both know, it's biggest beer drinking consumption.
My favorite
capital.
beer in the world is Pilsner Urquell. Like,
it's a damn good beer.
There's some in the fridge right now.
I know.
Almost always is.
I noticed.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of great breweries there. And just kind of a footnote, my family has had an old tavern in the Czech Republic now.
Shout out.
Well, it's actually now licensed by, it's called Rapacious, which is a brewery in the Moravia region where we're from, which is Brno, second largest city in the Czech Republic. And so I knew the beer journey would catch up to me, and a lot of our old, family who's obviously passed on, they were publicans, and it was only a matter of time before I got into it. And it took me a few years, but I think at 27, 28, I got onto it.
And you said the word publicans.
Yes.
Those aren't the republicans. I would just think it would be interesting for the listeners. So a publican is kind of where the whole like public house.
Yes.
Do you know, I'm not sure of the exact translation of that word. Do you know what that etymology? And,
I'm probably going to bastardize it, but
I'll bastardize it too if you,
No, but publicans was more synonymous with the United Kingdom, but in Europe, usually there were public houses were places of a gathering place for people to come visit, whether it was locals. In our situation, it was actually a traveler's inn. So people who were coming, passing through town to go into Prague and Austria, Germany. My uncle at the time, Otto, actually, and from German heritage, which living in Louisville now, Germantown, Thistle.
Totally.
It was, he was a publican who literally, he cooked, he served, he was behind the bar. He didn't make the beer. Local other breweries made the beer, but it was just one of those things where it's a labor of love. It really is.
Yeah.
It's you're not going to get rich doing it, but it's.
We kind of talked about how your job title is kind of sporadic, and as small business people ourselves, like you're sitting in our my homebrew shop right now.
I love it.
You're a customer service representative. You're a hospitality person. You're like a social media manager these days. That's kind of what the essence of small business is in a lot of ways. If you take it back to the the roots in Czechoslovakia and continental Europe in general. You do everything. Like all you do is create value for people, and they give you a little bit of money, and like you create a life for your family and your future and all that stuff. So that's cool to kind of just, I don't know. And beer is a big part of that, honestly. Like
it really is. And you're the bartender, you're the janitor, you're the plumber. But you do it because you love it, and it's in you. Just.
So did that kind of? Do you think any of that got built into you, and you kind of came over to the U.S. and started doing your own?
100%.
Yeah.
And I didn't believe it until my mom would just constantly remind me, hey, this is, your great grandfather would be very proud of you because, you work a lot and,
you start tearing up. You're like, whatever, mom. Yeah. So by the way, this beer is excellent. We should give a quick tasting shout out to Side Project. Yeah.
By the way. Yeah. I actually already poured myself a little bit
more. Yeah. Well, we're being regaled.
Oh, it's such a good beer.
Yeah. Very tart, very berry forward. The perfect blend of like,
it's so winey.
The funk you want. And that little bit of wine kind of tannin ester thing that comes through as well.
been trying a couple more like natural wines or natties, I guess. So
Natties.
yeah, natties.
Yeah.
I guess as defined as it's been explained to me is like natural wine is wine that's made without pesticide and whatnot, but natty would be a wine that's kind of open fermented with local, microflora, and the same way that wild beer is produced.
Yeah.
This has like all of those vibes in it, and it's very good. I really want to say this is from like 2017.
Tastes like it.
Like
It
6
tastes
years
like
old,
had
and it's
some,
not
like, time.
acidic at all.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the hell out of this. It got really wholesome there for a minute. So
Yeah.
I did want to ask you about the first time you met a hippie.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
Because you went from Czechoslovakia to California.
Yeah.
You know what? I actually I met plenty of hippies. We moved to as I mentioned, the Bay Area. So I spent a lot of time in Berkeley. My dad's a huge vinyl collector, so I would spend nights, and he's still he's retired back in the old country, if you will. And I would spend hours at old record stores with him. And my mom would just, she's like, oh, really again? And I'd crawl around. That's why I have a huge love for music. I'm a huge collector of just all kinds of random shit.
Yeah.
But we'd go to these record stores and just the hippie factor in Berkeley. And then you'd go to San Francisco because there were even better record stores in San Francisco. And Haight-Ashbury, like it was,
Yeah,
it
sure.
wasn't the Haight-Ashbury that people recall from the 60s by any means, but it was still, especially in the 80s and 90s, it was still as, kind of hippy dippy as you could possibly get at that time. And it was amazing because you just, first time I ever smelled pot, smelled
Sure.
incense. I'm like, looking, I'm like, this is Jimi Hendrix. And I smell this. What is that? It smells like a skunk. Is there a skunk on the street? No, it's marijuana.
Yeah. And then that kind of those like you're kind of talking about that cultural moment where it shifted from the 60s to the 70s. And then, you were in the 80s. And then I would say the late 80s, early 90s is kind of when, especially out on the West Coast, craft beer kind of started to come up as a thing. And the kind of, wine has always been kind of there.
Especially,
and
in California, like prolifically.
Prolifically,
yes.
exactly. And, cider to some extent, I'm sure. But how did that kind of get onto your radar? Do you have any personal anecdotes about when you kind of started to be like, oh, this is interesting?
You know what I did? So beer was always around at the house, and my parents were always encouraged
As Europeans.
like, hey, drink, don't be an asshole. Don't drink and drive. So that was always just,
Which is, in my opinion, the best way to do it.
best way to do it.
Like,
Don't make it taboo.
Yeah.
And we would always have Pilsner Urquell, Staro Brno, which is from Brno. What was nice was, it was available, but then being California, there's two or three brands. Pete's Wicked Ale.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
And that was just around at the time. This is before, I believe he sold to Miller at the time. Sierra Nevada, which very iconic, prolific. And then Sam Adams, once again, was the kind of still the pioneer
On the West Coast?
East Coast, West Coast,
Oh, yeah.
like
Oh,
P. Diddy, Tupac
absolutely.
vibes. Yeah. Not P. Diddy, Biggie. Tupac vibes. Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, you guys tried to make rap references earlier. I was trying to fit in. Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Those are the
Derailing.
beers.
Yeah, exactly.
I see, like when I think West Coast, I think like, and this probably just outdates your predation of it, but like Stone, Russian River, the Guard, like some of the current institutions, I guess. But yeah, I just don't know it. I can't believe that Sam Adams was out on the West Coast that early.
It was, and actually, my brother-in-law who used to work for Anchor would actually give me a lot of shit. Anchor is the.
Yeah,
I mean, let's
they're
just
big.
growing up in the Bay Area. Like I'm embarrassed that I actually overlooked that. So Anchor was like probably two.
They did start like in the 70s. That was Maytag.
Fritz Maystadt.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And he kind of had the vision of like what American beer could have been if we hadn't had prohibition and like all that kind of shit get involved.
Liberty Ale was the first IPA that was actually mass produced in the United States. Old Foghorn was actually one of the first packaged barley wines that was released. Obviously within California, but out of state as well.
Yeah.
So,
And they made the California Common. We're on the Kentucky Common podcast here at the moment. So that good kind of American Common connection. I always love a good Liberty beer
And steam beer.
and steam beer.
Yes, steam beer.
Which is kind of what it should have been called. Like they were very aggressive on like pursuing the like they trademarked I think California Common and they wouldn't really let anybody like use it. when I don't know. So anyway, not to get too
Well,
deep
we're
into
pretty
that.
aggressive on getting Kentucky Common.
We will sue the fuck
named
out of
as
you.
well. we would really like our legislators to take a deep look inside their hearts
Yes.
and
They
make
should,
sure that
yes.
this is the state beer because there's
No one should own it. It
Yeah.
belongs to the Commonwealth.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm totally for that. Pivot, as we mentioned earlier, does produce a large amount of cider. We've
Mhm.
got some displayed in front of us. And in preparation for the show, I don't really know how to make cider, but I gave it a shot. So
You sent me a few DMs. I tried to give you some pointers. How'd that go?
So, yeah, I mean, we're gonna see because I made a few and I just want to run through them and see if anything actually turned out.
You didn't ask
but
ChatGPT how to do it, did you?
No.
Okay.
No. So give me just a second and I'm gonna grab these.
There is like a problem. Not a problem. Depends on who you ask, I guess. But a lot of the like non-beer beverages that are out in the market these days aren't really handcrafted. There's a lot of things that are
Yes.
what you might call, or what Sam Cruz might call, like malt flavored beverages or fermented malt flavored beverages or whatever. That's not what you guys make.
No, not at all.
That's, and if you buy like a lot of people would associate cider, like here in the homebrew shop, people ask all the time, what was that stuff that they used to make, like the Red's Apple Ale or
Mhm.
whatever,
Oh,
or
yeah.
the I won't say what were those bad cider brands that you could get, but there's a lot of like ciders that you see out on the shelves at Kroger or like, wherever. That's not what you guys make.
And that's definitely not what I made either.
Can't
Well,
wait.
we'll be the judge of that, sir. We'll be the judge of that. Do you want to describe your process, or do you want to let?
I think the product could probably speak for itself.
Okay.
But
So like maybe while he pours, just expound a little bit on how you guys kind of go about kind of crafting everything that you all make from cider to beer to anything like that. The thought that goes into it, the
Absolutely.
process.
And to your, and I will not name names either, but they're the bigger names out there that existed for a long time.
I'm not even like against naming them. I just
No.
can't remember because they're so irrelevant at the Angry Orchard. We'll pick on them.
Okay, so let's
Yeah,
pick
let's
on
pick
them.
on them.
there's them,
and
there's Blake's.
Yeah, there you go.
I grew up in the time of Woodchuck, Wider.
That's a good one.
Widmer,
Yep.
Widmer Brothers is good. I
not
thought.
Widmer
Yeah.
Brothers.
Not Widmer. They're
Widers.
legit. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. See, it's hard to remember.
Yeah. No, but because they have obviously sizable budgets, they are out there to tell you, hey, this is cider.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times it's not cider.
It
It's
ain't.
literally liquefied candy.
Yeah.
Just high fruit. I mean, it's not naturally. I mean, it's fermented, but it's not.
Something was fermented at some point.
At some point,
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
right. And there's a lot of adjuncts and just
So with that in mind, we can taste what David Satterley has made, and we can try to give you some pointers about your creative process.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
This
All
is a margarita inspired.
Oh, okay.
Cider.
Ray knows.
So, did you kind of take pointers from the big guys we were talking about?
I was reading a lot of forums
Uh-huh.
on Cider Advocate. I don't know if that site exists.
Judge now. Well,
It's not good.
no. Well, it's not bad.
It's not bad at all.
It just tastes like you ever go like in college, like dissolve Jolly Ranchers into Everclear and then pour a little bit of apple cider into it. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting. Do you have a name for this one?
No, I don't.
Okay.
We'll give it a go. We can move through these fast.
Yeah, we'll move through these fast.
It's so
I mean, I don't hate it.
It's a little watermelon. It's a little
Yeah.
tropical. There might be some apple juice in there at some point. Okay. So, I'm not going to critique you.
What's the ABV on this? Just
I think
ish.
God
roughly
knows.
like 4.2.
4.2.
It's
Okay,
pretty
okay.
light. Pretty light.
All right, hit me.
I will say that, I mean, this is an extremely young cider. I made it today.
Wait. Is this out of a Mr. Beer box? Like it's like a Keurig.
I think you just got cues from what a lot of those like cider makers are doing, and you
guys.
tried to kind of.
All I'm asking is
that.
you give me a fair chance.
Oh, yeah,
okay?
all right. Do you have a name for this one?
This is my guava strawberry cider.
Okay, I get the
Yes, I mean,
strawberry.
hey,
It smells like that really artificial stuff that we have in the natural extract flavoring in the back of the shop back here. I get some appleiness coming off of it.
It's a little lighter, a little less sweet.
Oh, you're right. It actually is a little lighter, a little less sweet, yeah, more quaffable. Okay, so that's a cider. That's a strawberry the guava cider.
Guava strawberry.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Hit us with number 3. And I hope you will, at the end of all this, reveal your process to us, because I am very curious.
Well,
to be able to tell people how they should be doing this at home.
I would never give away what I've developed over the last 4 hours.
It's proprietary.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not going to kill you.
No.
Just so you know, this is taking me back to the 90s, drinking malt beverages. Everything smells like just
That like
Yeah.
whatever they're putting into like Lifesavers candies or whatever. Like the guy.
What were the I forget the names.
This
damn
is
it.
my mixed fruit,
This is
lime, strawberry, guava.
Okay,
cider.
sangria.
Yeah, sangria.
Sangria cider. All right.
It's like a collaboration with Starburst candy. I like it.
Yeah. I saw a good meme on the internet the other day that was like, people spent millions of dollars during the 80s developing all these like fake fruit flavors, but the guy who got banana just like checked out early.
Oh,
It's like, this doesn't taste like banana.
No.
Motherfucker, I don't know what this is. It's like powder.
But he did it, and now
But he
people
did
think
it.
it tastes like yellow.
And that's in
Yes.
200 years when like all food is made out of replicators. That's what bananas will taste like. And bananas are fake anyway. It's a genetically modified organism. Plantains, motherfucker. Anyway, back to the segment. All right, so David Satterley, if I was to critique your cider, and then, so what? First of all, I would say excellent job.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
That being said, it kind of tastes like you just kind of took something apple based and poured something with alcohol and maybe some like potassium sorbate and high fructose something or other into it and put it in a bottle and then tried to pass it off to us as artisanal. Is that what you've done here?
I think the creative process in itself is artisanal. You forgot one key ingredient of xanthan gum.
Yes, from the hard Topo Chicos that you blended with apple cider. Did I spill the beans?
Yeah, that's what this is.
Okay.
This is just apple cider blended with Topo Chico because I have no idea how to make cider. I have ideas about how it could work, but I figured we let you kind of explain the process because I think it is much different than beer, and the people that do attempt it, sometimes it comes out a little wonky, and I think you guys do an incredible job. So yeah.
And of not bastardizing it. The stuff that you guys make is... So the whole point of this segment, ladies and gentlemen, was to illustrate that point we were just talking about, where a lot of the stuff that's out there that calls itself cider is not exactly.
Yeah.
And what you guys do is very different. We can start wherever you want, but talk to us about what Pivot does.
So I will start with this.
Yeah.
So what Pivot does, and it's actually proprietary, and not to sound bougie like a total asshole.
IP.
So is mine.
Yeah. We didn't tell you what kind of Topo Chico.
My boss would kill me if I broke down every detail, but we do. So we source. We're one of the few, or there's maybe a couple of us that actually sources apples from different orchards. We do work predominantly with orchards out of Michigan because of the terroir out there. We do work with a couple outside of Lexington, but everything's brought in. We usually get 5 to 6 shipments during harvest, and keep in mind these are 40-foot trucks. With, I mean, whatever the breakdown is, 7 to 8 massive containers of apples specifically for cider making.
How do you like them apples?
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot of apples.
It's as artisan as you get, but it's some real crap work. And
can I ask if there's specific apples that need to be like, because apples
like
is one of the fruit that has like the most varietals of any other
this
fruit.
might go into the proprietary secrets category.
Okay. No.
I'll
Did they have a color that's specifically
privately selected?
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Never mind.
Wait, Kroger owns that. Like, artisanally curated.
hand selected.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Sorry.
No. And so everything's brought in, and then once again, everyone has kind of their own method to their madness, but a lot of cideries, and we'll do it as well. You bring it in, you make it, you get it through the press, you take your apple juice, put it in a fermenter, and then the magic begins when you're adding, whether, not adjuncts, but you're adding other fruit to it, other spices. And that's where we basically go, we have a couple 80 barrel fermenters.
Wow.
And then
that's a lot of apples.
Oh,
that's a lot of apples.
And you would be actually surprised the amount of physical apples we do get once you actually press them. I mean, it's still a metric shit ton of Apple juice.
I've made apple cider from scratch before,
Yeah.
and even to do like a 5-gallon batch,
Yeah.
you're dealing with like a 55-gallon drum of apples that you have to cut up, core, sometimes peel, sometimes not peel. You have to pulp, process, and then you have to press. It's like there's so much physical labor involved in every step of that process.
Washing them.
Yeah.
The good news is we make a lot of animals very happy in Kentucky because we feed, I think, half the cows in and around Lexington.
Awesome.
Which is bad for the bovine doctor industry if the apple a day keeps it anyway.
Yes.
Yeah. The cows have lots of apples anyway. Sorry. Okay. All right. Sorry.
But so everything's fresh apple press, apple juice. Then we add our magic to it. But just for clarification, we do not use any adjuncts. Where years spent brewing beer, we don't have like, hey, this tastes like mint chocolate chip. There's no flavor out there. Like you cannot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally made in a lab. It's the folks that make every.
Yeah. XYZ chemical, like Red 5, like all that shit.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't do that, but bring it in. That's why we're lucky enough where we could do one-offs, whether it's cranberry, fresh ginger, but it's it's not cheap. That's the reality.
Yeah,
so
it's not.
So and you look at like there's the big cider out there where it's you pump it out, you knock down the costs by adjuncts, additives. It's challenging for a small guy who actually makes it fresh with every natural ingredient to compete in that market.
Yeah.
But I think when people taste it, like
it's
hey,
night and day. It's not the same thing.
I'm with you.
It's not even
pretty
the same
instantly.
product. Yeah.
I have questions. Coring.
Learning
is that a
experience.
thing? Do you have to core them or do you just press it all out?
Press them.
And do they come seedless by like GMO or
You
no?
want some of those tannins in there a lot of the times too, from the stems and the seeds and the skins. Everyone has different opinions, but as far as like the terroir goes, that's where a lot of the unique flavor comes from. At least in the stuff that I know about
So
cider
you just
making.
run it all out, wash it, and then you just press the hell out of it. Like
Yeah.
hydraulic press, I assume, or you're not like stepping on it in a bucket like grapes.
That'll be the little intro collab. me and Muller
Cinder
and
blocks.
Satterley. Yeah. If he ever gets back from Tampa, we'll be in there with our shoes off, like pressing these apples down. But you guys do it on a more sanitary.
I miss you, Muller. Enjoy Wyoming.
Yeah. And
No, but and then sorry, I still have questions. The sweetness component in it, like beers, you can kind of like measure Plato to get your residual sugar content. Is it the same process with cider?
Correct.
Because I've had like dry ciders and dry like wines type deal, but you're dealing with fructose as opposed to the
sucrose. Yeah.
So I assume there's a different chemistry deal there.
It's not that different.
No,
I mean, as far as yeast are concerned, they're just going to eat it. You might use different yeast strains, and so they'll attenuate to different levels.
Right.
is it a longer protein chain in the?
I don't think there's any proteins in. That's all a product of like starches and carbohydrates. So it's like long chain. I don't think there's any protein in apples. It's just all fruit sugars basically, which are very simple, very easy. Sometimes people will process them or like boil them down to kind of increase that, but the good ciders, and a lot of that actually comes from a European tradition too. Like, I can't remember the name of the Spanish cider.
Like a Basque?
Yeah, exactly. Or the French farmhouse ciders. That stuff, it's designed to taste more like champagne. It's more dry, and then any kind of residual sweetness is usually added by aging it on top of different. You might not call them adjuncts in cider making, but just different, like aging it on fresh craneberries or fruit or like whatever.
We do use champagne yeast for obviously our drier style ciders, which we have a couple on right now, and it rips through it. And sometimes I love French, Spanish style ciders.
So good.
I love funky beer. That's when you brought out Side Project. I'm like, yes, I've had that in ever. But we even hitting champagne fermented cider with a fruit addition, it still just makes it very effervescent. Our goal is to make more and more. Right now, we're trying to focus on what we're doing, but there's just every time I see or taste a beta batch, I'm like, oh, why aren't we packaging this? But there's only so much time and money you could actually,
Sure.
yeah.
Well, all this talk about ciders, I think we're teasing the audience. We drank Satterleys, which we all appreciate and applaud. Should we? Do you have a cider here we could crack and try one of your all's offerings? Yeah. Let's try some of the stuff straight from I guess since we're in America, Johnny Appleseed's teat. This is 2023. He could have teats.
He could.
This is fun. What you got there?
So this is a Rapacious wit. If you look at it, so this is actually one of my favorite ciders. Talking about a drier style. So coriander, a hop addition.
Mm-hmm.
It's as European, actually more kind of Austrian wine as you get. Let me pour you some.
People associate, hops a lot with what we use to flavor things these days, but historically, hops are honestly kind of modern on the flavoring of not only beer, but also all sorts of different fermented beverages. Coriander was very, very popularly used. Basically, you name it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It has some of those same effects. This looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Cheers.
I love the
Is there a better version of cheers for cider? I don't know if there is, actually, personally. It sounds like British and whatever, so it's probably fine.
I mean, in Czech, you could say na zdraví.
Let's do that.
Which
na zdraví. Yeah. Aroma coming off of here, very appley off the nose, but not like super sweet apple cidery. Kind of that mix between like a nice like lighter white wine, like maybe like a Pinot, maybe like a Pinot Grigio or like a Sauvignon Blanc or something.
Almost
like Pinot Grigio
or like a Gewürztraminer.
Yeah. There you go. That's better. Or like that kind of Riesling style.
Yeah, Riesling. I'm a huge fan of Rieslings. That's why,
and that kind of has like.
I should probably say this reminds me of a Austrian Riesling.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, it gives a lot of like white peach, like just
100%.
bright.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's delightful. It tickles your tongue because it has that light carb, kind of like a Riesling, but
it's
more
not cloying. There's not a lot of residual sugar that's just bouncing around.
But the hop and coriander do add a little bit on the edges of your tongue of the bitterness and the salty elements.
Yeah, 100%.
This is way out of my realm.
It's delightful.
I've literally never had anything like this. It's very good.
It's very good.
Yeah.
And I would say, like, a lot of people who are listening to this podcast are beer lovers. And one of the things that is always a struggle for beer nerds is to like have something in your fridge that you're not beer friends would love. So if like somebody who this is going to sound like a terrible thing, but if like Susie White Wine comes over, I love Susie White Wine. I keep trying to get her to go to brunch with me or something. You can have some of that in your fridge or just to enjoy.
Absolutely.
And like, that's a great offering to give to a friend who's not like a craft beer nerd who you still want to have something around for, and it's gluten-free.
Correct.
Which is also cool.
This is a lot of flavor. I mean, it's complex.
Yeah, it's very complex.
It's as complex as that wine barrel aged.
And it's kind of that hybrid between like what I love about wine and what I love about beer. Like you get the kind of terroir and you get the fermenting element. There's more yeast character in this than I think there is in a lot of wine, which is more reminiscent of what I like about beer. But then it's just very dry and very crisp and very and like flavorful and delightful. And
coriander.
Is that Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the is that like a pro wrestling Ruth Bader Ginsburg with a kettlebell? Yeah, I'm all about it. So it's like Joe Rogan meets Ruth Bader Ginsburg, which is what can bring all of America together probably in this year of our Lord 2023.
Yeah, man, on that.
Yeah. This is great. This is fucking fantastic.
In the coriander, I've only really seen that in like Gozas and other sours.
Belgian wit,
so
you see that? Yeah.
So it sharpens it a little bit. I do really like that.
And it adds that like it's not like a soapy taste, but it gives that little bit of like where it just turns into suds on the back of your palate a lot of times with coriander. It starts off big bubbles and then it turns into small bubbles as you drink it, which I think is that's one of my favorite things about those kind of European stuff, like ciders and stuff like that too. Yeah.
And it's super sessionable. I think it's 5.5. 5.6. Yeah.
I gravitate towards like, lawnmower beers like Pilsner Urquell or like American domestic lagers and stuff. I needed to do a hard work day with cider as my like reprieve and see how that treats me.
It's gluten free.
Yeah, and John Adams, founder of this country, used to drink a hard cider every morning when he was writing the founding documents of your goddamn country. People,
didn't he have syphilis?
Come on, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the cider. Come on. we can go any direction right now. I would drink another cider, or we could do a show and tell.
You want another?
I mean, we got some back there. I would do one more cider, and then let's maybe bounce into like a.
Hold on. Okay. Do you want to go?
It's really delightful. That's really good.
Let's try this.
Yeah, the coriander, especially after it kind of sits
It
for a little
does.
bit, it comes out more and more. That's really, really good.
It's bright. I love a good bright like beverage.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Ooh, this one has some lighter color. I haven't even looked at the label yet, so we'll let you fill us in on the branding first.
I feel so bad for making you all try these abominations.
It proved a point, I think.
The point is that this is instantly better.
Exactly. And that tastes more like what you get
So-
when you get like a cheap cider from the freaking... Anyway, enlighten us. Let's not shit on these people anymore. So let's talk about the good stuff.
Well, if you take a whiff, you'll get
Okay.
fresh ginger right away.
Yes, ginger.
Ginger.
Oh, yes. It smells like a sushi restaurant. Like,
Yeah.
it kind of smells
So,
like...
Yeah. It's. I won't tell you how much fresh ginger we use. But
Okay, a lot, I'm
a
sure.
lot. So ginger, raspberry,
And this is called Thistle.
Thistle. So Thistle, Rapacious, which we just had. These are all limited releases, so they're all very seasonal. That's why we encourage people. Hey, if you see it, grab it.
Grab it, yeah.
Hopefully, we eventually, we have a release schedule, but we just don't make enough of it. We have a couple cores, which actually I didn't bring any cores. I brought old Christmas beer.
Yeah, you can get that.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
fine. Yeah, this is good, man. Holy
It's good.
shit.
Do you like the label? It's got a fun
Mhm.
little bee on it, and on the side it says "Be the change."
Yeah.
Which
That's very
I'm
nice.
here for that.
So the nice thing about ginger is how much it just brightens everything up. And ginger and coriander go well. So that's actually kind of a good pairing to drink like back to back, those two. This is fantastic. And you have the bee on there. So I'm tasting like flower pollen and kind of like a lighter. And obviously that comes a lot from like apples and stuff like that. But this is great. And it's just, I don't know, if you're out there and if you're like, if you love craft beer and if you just want to try something different, like cider is a whole world that you might not even be aware of. There's so much going on.
It's a great change of pace for one, and like mead is really hot right now.
Mead is very hot right now.
Honey's expensive.
Yes.
Yeah. Unless
Apples
you
are
have
expensive
bees.
too. This is somewhere in the middle, you
Yeah.
know, where
Yeah.
it's not like a 8, 9, 10, 13% and not a beer and not gluten. So it's a lot more dietary friendly, I believe.
And just like, it just, to me, it's like it's a different thing to drink and it's delightful. And you could share it with a lot of different people who aren't into your like hoppy bullshit or your like pastry stuff or your like whatever. Not that you guys don't do a good job on all that too. We can talk about your beers and stuff.
But I'm with you. Like whether it's Lexington or here in Louisville, we have usually half and half the menu is cider, and the other half is dedicated beer. Our goal is to like educate people. Hey, this is what a true cider should taste like, and it's and it's got. After a few drinks, I get all preachy. Sorry.
Hey, you're in good company.
And
preaching to the choir at this point.
and you get older as I have, and you're like, oh, guy, I'm just a crusty asshole. I just want to just tell people, hey, try this. And some people have this like just built in. Oh, it's cider. It's sweet. It's we talked about earlier. It's Topo Chico on.
Exactly.
On,
High fructose.
Now we know what that tastes like.
I want more of the sadly. You're like, no, I don't.
But it's it also goes great, which it's a whole another element or realm. Cider goes great with cocktails, so you can make great cocktails with cider. And living in amazing state and city that is bourbon land, you'd be surprised how bourbon goes,
especially like with that little bit of like a ginger kick, like a Kentucky Mule kind of cocktail with some cider.
So we just did a Kentucky Mule cocktail. So we have a barrel, and actually I'll bring that out later.
Hell yeah!
But we have we do a lot of barrel aged ciders, which we do age in used bourbon barrels. We mixed that with a cocktail, and we did one for a grand opening. So we did our barrel age, which is our Kentucky Mule. We partnered up with Angel's Envy.
Yeah,
and it was fucking delicious.
Yeah.
Because it just the tannins and just all works together, and
that's literally something you can find nowhere else in the world because it's where those two things come together.
Yes,
like good crafted Kentucky cider and obviously amazing. The only bourbon that exists is made in Kentucky. Like, is that controversial? Apparently, but no, it's true.
No, it's true.
In my opinion. Sorry, Sarah Havens, but whatever. That's the ultimate coming together of those two great things to make something even better. Like that's yeah. We can go there, or we can go.
So
show
we
and
do
tell.
always we do always ask that guests bring on show and tell. One thing that is beverage related, and one thing is non-beverage related. So we're going to go into part one of that. If you want to show off either or, it's up to you.
That is so good.
So
That was very good.
I do listen to instructions more
Enough.
Enough.
An appropriate amount.
All right. Actually, I'm going to do dealer's choice. So I brought a couple of barrel age offerings from Pivot.
Mhm.
I bought a old wild beer that's about 6 years old. That was a mixed fermentation project.
Let's go.
That one.
Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah.
That
All
one.
right, all right,
Let's go.
So-
Let's go.
all right. Okay. Hold on.
Is that the one in the fridge?
It's in, it's the bottle. I
In the cooler.
think it's in the cooler. Did I give it? And I'll replace it for you.
Yeah. Fill us in.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
So this one has some history to it as well, right?
Yes. So, and once again, I work for Pivot. And I try to, there you go, cover that up. So background, once I got out of, I always wanted to open a brewery, and the Belgian beer bug bit me. Always loved wild mixed fermentation beers. So after a lot of years, including many years, years at Stone, managing bars, opened a brewery in 2014, and our whole our whole ethos was, it was a wild batch, small batch beer endeavor.
Yeah.
And it was one of the first. The brewery was the first one, and then we were, I think, one of the second ones in California
Wow.
to open. And we did just a lot of mix, just Rosalaire blends, just a lot of So we did a lot of. I'm adamantly against kettle sours. I hate them, and I think they're the devil.
No, the Rosalaire blend. People ask how you can do that without it. You can't.
You can't.
It's just
we
hundreds of years in the making.
We did Berliner Weisses that took us 6. The average turnaround was 6 weeks on just a Berliner Weiss, but it was true to form. We did everything we did was a Solera method, and so we had the mother cake, and we would just put it in a tote, and we probably knock out 8 or 9 batches before we had to kind of revitalize the yeast.
Sure.
And being on the West Coast, got to work with a lot of amazing wineries. We did a bunch of different beers. Our goal was try to make sure that we can figure out just fusing wine, mixed beer, mixed fermentation beers. So this was Midnight Hour. This beer, I honestly couldn't even tell you. I think this is 2017. So it's a mixed firm saison Merlot barrels. All these barrels came from Central California.
Wow.
And then we added black currants. This was probably 8 oak barrels. So wine barrels are a little bit bigger than bourbon barrels, and they're 60 gallons a piece. And I got a lot of cases of these.
Hell yeah. That sounds incredibly good. Holy shit.
Just did we and this is not even just kind of like sorry. So we did a lot of collaborations with a lot of different breweries, Cascade, Monkish, just old.
Yeah.
But I figured I saw this in the cellar. I'm like, what, y'all would enjoy this.
Hell yeah. So you said the base beer was like a kind of a lighter saison or something like that.
Yeah,
you said,
yeah.
Okay, blended with darker, which I'm assuming where all the color comes from.
Yeah,
No, the black
currants. It was just black currants. It was probably in oak barrels. I can look at my notes.
The aroma comes
6-8 months in oak, and then another 5-6 years in a bottle.
Wow, holy crap, man.
And
so right off the bat, the nose reminds me of all those like really good West Coast like wine barrel aged beers that you might get from places that would charge you.
Is this brewery still in production?
The brewery actually unfortunately closed last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and I parted ways with the project in 2018.
That explains everything. It's because you left.
Well, it's been a hard couple of years to
That's true.
operate.
But yeah.
So okay.
This is the Phantom Carriage Brewery and Blendery, Midnight Hour, out of Carson, California.
Oh, that's fucking great, man.
And it was more inspired by, I'm a huge fan. I mean, obviously we all love Cantillon, but there's just a lot of breweries you can't even get out here anymore. I used to work with the folks at Earthel back in the day. There's I'm trying to think of what some of the old breweries that were inspirational. It just more. It doesn't be hyper acidic.
Yeah. The reminding yourself that it's a saison, I think, is the most important thing about drinking that, because it's not like a crazy, funky, deep, dark,
I was going to bring those, but I was like, I'm going to bring
something.
something more.
Yeah. This is great, but it also lets the
you get the
currants
Merlot
and the Merlot shine
You get
through.
the Merlot
Yeah.
because it tastes like that dry, like acidic saison with black currants, and then there's like this aftertone, and it's Merlot.
This is right up my alley.
I have to say, moving to this amazing city, being obviously, I'm a big bourbon drinker. The same love that I have for bourbon and being an older asshole, it's the same love that I remember experiencing literally 15 years ago, getting into craft beer and wild beers, and working with wineries where we would pick up these barrels ourselves. We got to know the winemakers.
Yeah.
So my wife and I would jump in, get a U-Haul box truck, drive up there. They dumped everything. We would pick up 30 barrels. I would load them in. You're like, oh, my back.
Yeah.
But we'd drive from like Paso Robles area, Central California, drive it down. You'd open the back of that truck and you could just smell. I mean, it was, and so I've had similar moments where you just amazing bourbon rye barrels. And you're like, oh God, just wash over me.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's a tough industry. I'm all excited. It's a tough industry, as you guys know, but these are those moments that keep you going, and you're like, you love it, and it's a labor of love.
And to tell you the truth, like that's kind of part of the magic that we're trying to cultivate in the state of Kentucky, because we feel like, there's so many good breweries here. Like I think Kentucky and Louisville, but Kentucky in general is still kind of a sleeping giant in terms of how much good beer. And even like if you go to the sneaky places like Turtle Run, Sawstone, like a lot of places around
Turtleback Ridge.
Turtleback, what did I say? That's a winery, sorry.
Yeah.
They're good too. Are putting out good mixed fermentations and stuff. And then there's like the distilleries are obvious, but bringing those two things together can create what I like to call the cool Napa Valley, which is like where beer and bourbon comes together instead of like bourbon.
For the
and
love
wine.
of God, please, brewery owners, just drive out to a distillery.
Yeah, email us. We'll put you in contact with Jesse Atkins or somebody.
Get barrels. If you have space, I know space is a constraint for a lot of people, but if you have space, please, God, do stuff in bourbon barrels. Everyone loves it. I love it.
Even stuff that you wouldn't expect, like aging a saison in a bourbon barrel, like you guys did with this one in a Merlot, and then adding a fruit character or whatever.
No, we had a whole sub project. We aged Berliner Weisses in wine barrels, and some of the best Berliners I've ever had, and those were all inspired by folks in Germany.
Yeah. So,
and that's why I'm so excited with like Pivot. A little sneak peek.
Let's go.
Just totally jumping the gun, but
let's go.
We work Bluegrass Distillers.
Yeah.
One of the growlers I brought. Oh, actually, both growlers I brought you. We have an Imperial Stout.
I think there's no reason to beat around the bush at this point.
we're just gonna go right.
Let's do it.
Run the gauntlet. But yeah, they've been great to us. We aged one of our ciders, which is a high ABV cider. So we crammed a lot of juice in there. But we usually try to age everything for about 6 months or less. 9%, 9.2 ABV ish.
Wow.
But it sat in these barrels for 6 months. So I thought it'd be fun. If you're interested, you can try the bourbon.
Yeah.
And try the bourbon barrel aged cider.
We really, really want to taste this, but I think it's about the time of the show we take a Berg break.
Yeah, I'm curious, but I need like a digestive to get me ready.
Yes.
So I'll grab the glassware.
so
you
happy.
grab the Bergs.
You don't need glassware for Bergs.
No, for bourbon.
So if you're unfamiliar with the Berg break, we're going to have an Underberg. It's a great thing to settle your stomach after a couple beers or a large meal. completely made out of roots and digestives. Will make you feel a lot better in the tummy region in about 10 minutes after ingesting.
It's kind of a hipster thing in America, but Underberg has a deep history in Europe as well. And that whole, like, you were talking about the Malort and the different kind of like digestives or aperitifs. It's a whole, it's kind of a fun thing.
Well, I love it, and I don't think it's for hipsters. So
No.
Maybe Mueller is like just tainting my vision with his like hipster vibes.
It's amazing, by the way. I everything you just said, I fully endorse. This has gotten me through many.
Yes, it kind of can save you at a certain moment.
Honestly, yes.
And if you drink it, hold on to these.
Oh yes,
tops, because you can redeem some amazing prizes.
Turn them back in for special Underberg merch. But guys, cheers.
Cheers.
And when you hear the bubbles stop, that's when you know it's done.
Yeah.
Thanks, Underberg.
Thanks,
Magic.
Underberg.
Let's get into this.
Shall we
bourbon.
burb and
Bergen
beer?
bourbon. Bergen bourbon.
The pairing?
Yeah. We'll do both.
That would be the Imperial Stout.
Sometimes growlers are hard to remember which growler is which. I've had this problem in my life.
So we're doing the growler and the bourbon.
We could
pairing?
do growlers in here and nips in here.
Yep.
This bourbon smells like right up my alley. And so talk us through the thing one more time of just how these two elements came together.
So with Bluegrass Distillers, been around quite some time.
I smell the straight bourbon whiskey. It's very nice. And this is the high rye version? I get a little bit of rye out of the nose too.
This is the high rye. Correct.
Ooh, the rye nose is superb.
They're good folks. Stand by what they do. Good integrity. And it's one of the few distilleries in Lexington that we work with. They were kind enough to provide us barrels before barrels and the distillery industry went through the roof.
Yeah.
Now trying to get bourbon barrels is almost next to impossible.
Yeah. It's like a whole complicated web. Yeah.
But they're that's one of the reasons we actually carry their bourbons in the tap room here in Lexington. Freshly dumped barrels. We would age everything in there for about 5-6 months. And
so you pick up on the nose in the final product as well, which is actually really nice. It gets kind of sweetened and brightened by the apple, but so it's a bourbon, right?
Yep.
It's just a rye infused bourbon. It's light. It's not super hot. I'm guessing this is proofed around 80 or 90 proof.
90.
Okay. So it's like very drinkable, very smooth, very rye forward, especially in the aroma.
Extremely rye forward.
And then when it comes into the apple cider, the apple notes carry through on top, but you also get a little bit of the wood. And then I get at that like alcohol essence of what comes off of that coming through as well.
You'll get that caramel. I'll tell you this is in the fall. I mean, once we just launched into spring, but this is amazing in the fall.
Dude, imagine that is like just a fall cider. Oh
and
my God.
we sell the hell out of it.
Holy
Actually,
shit.
So we tapped our last keg that we have here. We just actually I pulled off. I pulled off to share, but yeah.
Wow. So this is straight out of the cider is out of the not bright tank. I don't know what you guys call it in the cider field, but the fermenter. Or it's like
we'll pull the cider out of the barrel into a packaging tank, and then we actually did can this. We did a tiny can run, and we had it available in the tap room. It's long gone.
Okay.
And then
so I was gonna say, how can people get this?
Yeah,
just
no,
wait
they
till it comes
can,
around
yeah,
again.
yeah.
Follow Pivot on social media and like wait till you guys do it again.
And
this is incredibly good.
Yeah,
that's fucking special, man. It has like that autumn thing that's like you can't fake with like cinnamon or nutmeg or like
almost molassesy.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
a little bit
Take-
clovey.
Taking a peek at the rye bill here, grain bill here.
Yeah, it's kind of a rye bill.
It is. Yeah, 75% yellow corn, 21% rye, and 4% malted barley.
Okay.
Barley definitely comes through the rye too, but that corny note almost comes into a caramel, like you said. But again, you smell it in the beer cider, and it comes through really, really well.
I get it more than I do because the nose on the cider is actually like dominated by apple, but there's a hint. But when you drink it, it like all incorporates.
It melds well.
Yeah.
And I always come here every Wednesday when we film this and never expect to drink bourbon. And then we always
Every
end up
week.
drinking bourbon.
It
So
always happens. Yeah.
thank you, Martin, for continuing this legacy because we're always fucking drinking bourbon.
I like the bourbon too. That's fantastic.
I couldn't let you down. I follow. I've watched the videos, and I'm like, I got to keep them. Keep the ship going.
Hell yeah.
Well, since we have some bourbon in you, I did prepare a small segment for you.
You're drunk now.
We're gonna work. We're gonna work together. I'm gonna help. I'm here to help.
No, I'm here to help. I am here to have you have silly sentences about cider by Martin Svab.
Oh my goodness!
So we've learned that cider. It's not that hard to make. It's just labor intensive to make a nice cider. You just have to know what the fuck you're doing and invest hundreds of hours of manpower and diligent study and trying and failing and building a company and having it expand over the years. Cider,
pretty easy to make, pretty hard to talk about.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I've got 5 phrases here, and I would just like you to read them.
Oh my goodness!
We can all do this together as an exercise. I'm happy to jump in and help as well.
All right, I'm gonna hold on.
It's tough. It's tough.
More.
She sells cider by the seashore, but the seashore is short on cider.
Nailed it.
Cider sipping Cindy sits and sips on cider concoction. Damn it!
Pretty good. I'll give you
Close
a
enough, close
C
enough.
plus on that one.
The cider seller sells. yeah, sons of bit. The cider seller sells several ciders, so sip them slowly, surely, and savor each one.
Go full Aubrey Hepburn, like the rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain.
Sassy Sarah swings a cider
There
slowly,
you go.
savoring every sparkling sip she sips.
Ooh, delightful.
Timmy tipsy from too much tart cider, but he's still tickled and talkative.
Nailed it.
A plus.
Nailed it.
Damn it.
Nailed it.
This is meant to trip you,
That's
and
why
you just jumped right over
That's
it.
why I love
so.
you guys, man.
Yeah.
God damn it.
So before your friends try to talk shit to you about cider, feel free to respond with. We'll put these in the
I'll
blog
post
post.
these tongue
Yeah.
twisters.
Give your
You've
friends
got-
some like.
You record yourself saying these.
Yeah.
I bet you can't.
Yeah, and tag us in your stories because we're very curious, especially after drinking like 3 ciders, 3 beers, and some bourbon and all that stuff. So yeah, very well done.
And 3 unlabeled malt beverages that were
Yes,
definitely
thank you.
not
I
cider.
thought we weren't talking about that.
Oh,
anymore.
sorry.
So basically,
Yeah, it's
Delicious, by the
Nice.
way.
where can I buy those?
So, over to Louisville news. John, do you want to brief us on anything going on next couple months?
The only thing that I would like to shout out, if you could hand me that bottle just to your side there, would be we've had kind of 2, we just had the Oscars with like their in memoriam segment or whatever. We just kind of have come upon the 1-year anniversary is not the right word, but just like reminiscence of the passing of 2 people who were really important to the Louisville beer community. Scott Hand at Monarch. Scott Hand Day went off freaking amazing. Like, it was so cool to see so many people gathered in one place just to not do anything other than like be as non-pretentious as possible, drink good beer, and just like be part of a community of enthusiasts.
Yeah,
Which
it's
is
really special. Good
it's all-
job, buddy.
yeah, all he would have wanted. I really truly think. And then we had a similar situation with Tim Bernash and a local homebrewer, Bluegrass homebrew patron, made an honorary beer. He said this was one of the bottles that he found in Tim Bernash's garage. It's an old shock top bottle. So I'm assuming he put a clip top on a screw cap. The beer is an American nut brown ale called Damn It Tim, and he made a 5-gallon batch of it. He shared it out at the whole Soppel party for remembrance and honoring of Tim Bernash. He called it Damn It Tim for everything that went wrong while he was brewing it. They used to be brew buddies. They would make their beer together in his or Tim's garage. And I think he said while he was brewing it, like his mash tun sprung a leak, his like wort chiller sprung a leak.
It was
and
all
then-
Tim's fault.
Yeah, and if Tim had been there, like Tim would have been like, "Hey, you fucking idiot! Like, fix this." But damn it, Tim, for
A great
the way
memorial.
that fucking life goes.
It was
Yeah.
really nice to have a toast to him, especially on a Monday for a safety meeting. Those who know will get that.
Yeah,
But really special guy, both of them as well. Good way to remember him.
yeah. So that would be my shout out. Just remembering the community that we're all a part of, and that nothing proliferates into the future, whether it be good beer, good bourbon, good cider, good company, without other people to help you remember it. Yeah. So shout out.
Nice.
Absolutely. I do want to go ahead and plug Commonfest. That's put on by Team Kentucky Derby. Last year we hosted that at the Capitol Grounds. That is a Kentucky Common contest and festival with several other local artists, vendors, food, and music throughout the Commonwealth. This year they're doing it as kind of kickoff event, but there'll still be plenty of beer, distilleries, and wine there. So mark your calendars for April 29th, and we'll be out that way. The other thing I have is Kentucky Craft Bash that is put on by the Kentucky Guild of Brewers. That is the largest congregation of beer in Kentucky, I'd say.
Right down there in the waterfront.
Right down on the waterfront. It's a good time. Same way, like the community exists because of the people, and that's a great way to meet and see all the people. So
It's like
We'll have
all
some-
the Kentucky brewers together in one spot
that's right.
for a craft bash.
For Bash.
Yeah.
So we'll have a couple more details of that as it comes around, but did want to give it a quick shout out, and it's coming around the corner. Festival season's kicking off in full effect. Shout out Tailspin,
Yeah.
10 years. That was awesome. If you saw anyone running around in an Eeyore costume, that was me.
Amazing.
If you saw anyone
So now
getting-
there's two Winnie the Pooh characters at Tailspin, is what you're telling me.
No, there was 4.
Because Russ is Winnie.
Yeah.
Winnie or Pooh?
It was
Winnie,
Pooh.
He's the Pooh.
There's
You-
actually 5 now, I think about
Okay,
it.
you know what? I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care anymore.
Russell's Winnie the Pooh. Our friend Jane Morrison was Tigger. Our friend Liz Hovey was Piglet. It was Eeyore. And then our friend Christopher
Why?
Rojas was Christopher
Okay.
Robin.
Okay, beautiful.
And if you saw anyone getting tattooed in the Eeyore costume, that was also me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Shout out Tailspin.
regrettable tattoos. Tailspin, 10 years.
Love it.
I love it though.
Anything at Pivot or anything personally you want to just let the people
I
know
gotta
about?
pee really bad.
Yeah, go.
No, but we had a grand opening, and we're happy to be here. That's really it. Just we're trying to figure out, how to be more involved in the community, and have a lot of weird, fun stuff, and lined up. And
Yeah, well,
Have
I'd
it-
say it's a welcome addition, and
Yeah.
there's so much good beer in this city, but there's so much more to be explored in the world of fermentation for people who are fermentation curious. And Pivot is leading
Thank
the
you.
way
Thank you.
on cider and everything good, and community building, and just having a cool LED candle lit spot,
Thank you.
wherever
Thank
you guys are. And thank you for being a part of that and bringing that energy here to Louisville.
Thank you for coming on tonight.
Thank you.
Cheers.